With joy, the Rotary Clubs of Gig Harbor Morning, Gig Harbor Midday, and Gig Harbor North celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Star Awards, honoring individuals in our community who, while not Rotarians, live the Rotary ideal of service above self. Tonight we honor 3 more individuals who embody this ideal of service. Chosen by the Midday Club is Guy Hoppin. Chosen by the North Club is Ann Nesbitt. And chosen by the Morning Club is Dana Webster. In addition to this public recognition here tonight, each Star Award recipient is also given the honor of becoming a Paul Harris Fellow. As new Paul Harris Fellows, Guy and Dana and Ann are in good company, including U.S. astronauts Neil Armstrong and James Lovell, Russian President Boris Yeltsin, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, animator and the original Imagineer Walt Disney, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar, creator of the Salk vaccine Jonas Salk, our own U.S. Congressman Derek Kilmer, and many of our local Rotarians. Each Star Awards recipient is chosen because of a visible commitment to service in the Gig Harbor and Key Peninsula communities. Each honoree has taken responsibility for leadership as they contribute significant personal time and effort to the causes they've chosen. Clearly not motivated by the desire for recognition, each Star Award recipient has chosen to serve simply because he or she saw a need and chose to respond by getting personally involved. Each has demonstrated enthusiasm, dedication, and a willingness to serve in a way that has changed lives and has inspired us. Chosen by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor Midday is Guy Hoppin. Guy is being recognized for his longtime dedication to the Gig Harbor community, and in particular, his work with the Gig Harbor Boat Shop.
I grew up right here, actually, on this site, and through the 50s and 60s, and graduated from high school in the 70s at Peninsula, and ended up fishing for a living, which is no surprise. Growing up in Gig Harbor, all my friends were immigrants' sons and daughters, and I was one of the few that didn't have a ICH on the end of my name. As a fisherman, I'm gone for 3 and 4 months a year, and I started to notice that as I came into the harbor after those months in Alaska, things were changing every year, and it didn't much alarm me at first. And then as net sheds and boat building facilities and frankly fuel docks began to disappear, it occurred to me that maybe the community should try to do something to save some of these traditional uses and places. I read an essay by Wallace Stegner called Sense of Place, and he mentioned in there that if you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are. And that, after those years of seeing especially the waterfront change and uses disappear, I thought, wow, that speaks to me. And he went on to elaborate, saying many Western towns have changed so much in the last 20 years. Those that are from those places don't recognize them. I thought, well, I don't want to not recognize my hometown, so we got involved. A lot of communities have brick and mortar buildings that are more understandable, I think. Gig Harbor doesn't really have that. What we do have are these boat yards and really the net sheds. And those are our historic nuggets. And that's why we thought it was important to save the Scansey Net Shed, the Eden Boat Yard, and now the Ansich Net Shed. Historic preservation is one thing, but the use that has evolved here is a whole nother thing, and I like to call that cultural conservation. And by that I mean we're utilizing this historic facility for generally what it was always used for: boat repair, boat building, and now boat restoration. And I think that's important too, the mind-to-hand connection we like to promote. And in this era of disappearing hands-on things in the secondary schools, we provide programs and workshops and opportunities for the community to do those things here and to connect to their cultural, Gig Harbor's cultural roots.
You know what's cool about this whole program in Gig Harbor is that it's real. Sure, there's a lot of historic buildings that get saved, but they don't do what they did when they were originally built. Not so here. This building, this property is doing the same exact thing with the same exact boats that were built here. Now they're restoring those boats that were built right here.
We're aboard the Veteran. It's a 1926 built Skanse Shipbuilding Company purse seiner. And it's a sample of maybe 100 of those boats that were built at Skanse. And in their day, they were state-of-the-art for purse seining. Nick Fahey, a generous man who nearly restored this boat completely. He decided that he thought he should give this boat to the Gig Harbor Boat Shop and send her home. And so we now are the proud interpreter of this vessel, and we currently we take people out for trips, local trips around the Sound. We do go out in the fall. The fishermen, commercial fishermen, fish in West Pass or Colville's Pass 4 or 5 days in the fall. So we make sure to bring people that are interested out and to watch these guys fish. It's developing into an important part of the Gig Harbor Boat Shop's programming plan. The volunteer effort has grown exponentially. It's incredibly gratifying to me. I get in hundreds of hours a year, but I'm not alone. We have 2 or 3 other board members, Jamie Storkman, John McMillan. Those guys get hundreds of hours in a year. I think most recently, a particularly inspiring volunteer effort was in order to save the city and the boat shop money, we installed the railway rails.
The last step in this whole project is the Marine Railway. This is a traditional boathouse, and in the old days, traditional boathouses had basically a little marine railway that took the boats at high tide and launched them.
And all the tides were at night, so it was cold, it was dark, it was muddy, and we had, I guess a dozen come and go, moving these 1,000-pound hunks of steel down the beach and burning holes in the piling to fasten these components. And all this was a 100% volunteer effort in conditions that were less than stellar. That's very typical of the Gig Harbor Boat Shop volunteer group. They're very dedicated, and without them, there wouldn't be this project. It wouldn't work. It's much like many nonprofits. You have to have a compelling enough story to draw volunteers, and I think the Boatyard's a natural for that.
Chosen by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor North is Ann Nesbitt. Ann is an active member of the Gig Harbor Key Peninsula Suicide Prevention Coalition. She's also being recognized for her volunteer and professional work with the Key Peninsula Fire Department.
It was actually a call that was really difficult for me. It was a suicide call, and I went to the call because I knew that one of our career guys was going to be by himself. It just went out as a attempted suicide, and I didn't want him to deal with that by himself. So I went And by the time I got there, others had arrived to help, but I walked in the door expecting it to be an older gentleman. And it turned out to be a 12-year-old girl. And my daughter was the same age, and it hurt me. I was the one doing CPR on her for 45 minutes, and she did not make it. Being a teacher in my past, was like, well, how do I fix this? And I thought, we need to educate people. And that's when I got involved with the Suicide Coalition. This past week I had the privilege of going into KPMS and speaking. Over the course of the week, we touched every 8th grader out here on the peninsula. And I was talking to them about mental health and suicide awareness. And really, the purpose was to reduce stigma. We want them to be able to talk about it and also notice not only within themselves but amongst their peers if they're displaying any signs, and know how to talk to them about it, and most importantly know where to go for help. I've been a Key Peninsula resident for 12 years. I have 2 kids. One is in high school, he's 16, his name is Matt, and Grace is my daughter, she's 13 at KPMS. I cannot do what I do without their support. I work at Key Peninsula Fire, and I'm also a volunteer, so I wear a bunch of hats depending on the time of day. I have a yellow lab named Abby, and I am very fortunate that she can come to work with me. And she has a fan base here out on the peninsula that is kind of crazy. We used to get people coming in the office to see us. They come in and they're actually mad at me if Abby isn't at work that day. What are you doing? My volunteer work with the fire department is I'm the volunteer battalion chief, and I'm in charge of just kind of overseeing the volunteer corps. We've got about 20 guys and gals. It is a really big source of pride for me because I think I'm going to brag a little bit. The people that I work with that are volunteer firefighters are amazing. And I think it's probably the best group that we have ever had at the department. And everybody brings 150% to the table. Our guys are trained just to do the same things that our career guys are. And they leave their dinner tables, they leave their Thanksgivings, they leave their Christmas days to go help others. And we're all in the same kind of trench together, just trying to make our world safe and secure. And I get the privilege of working with them. So my dad was a dentist for many years. He just retired, and he was a great role model growing up. And I saw him many times, seeing someone that needed the care but didn't have the money, didn't have insurance, and he would do it anyway. Just because it was important to him, because that's the right thing to do for people. If you have resources at your disposal and you can help somebody when they're down, they will reciprocate in kind to somebody else. There was a great story, a moment where I was just learning to drive, so I picked up Dad from work and I'm driving him home, and we stop at a stoplight, and the scariest, most scruffy, biggest biker I'd ever seen in my life is like, hey Doc. And I look at him, my dad's like, hey Cliff, how you doing? And I look at him like, how do you know that guy? And that was one of his patients, and he was just terrified of the dentist, and Dad was so mellow and whatever, and Cliff trusted him, and that was a life that Dad touched, and those things stayed with me. And I think I just grew up with that programmed. I don't look at it as I need to go volunteer. I look at it as what we can do to help people, and I hope that I'm raising my kids the same way. I think one of the biggest challenges I faced was being a single mom with 2 kids. So when the kids were younger, they got brought along with me. They came to drill, they still come to drill. They went on some calls and waited in the car. They have come with me to do suicide presentations. It demonstrated to them what being nice and giving and thinking of others can do, and they've just kind of grown up with, well, that's what you do and that's how you treat people. But that's important to me because that's the kind of person that I enjoy being around. I want my kids to grow up and be servants of the public as well. It's not automatic. It's not something that they have to think, ooh, I really need to get out there and volunteer. They do that in their day, and that's important to me. So actually a struggle ended up turning into a great positive life moment, and it helped me really influence my kids and their perspective of the world and society and their place in it.
Chosen by the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor Morning is Dana Webster. Dana is being recognized as an unsung heroine of many causes on the Key Peninsula, and for her work with the Key Peninsula Community Office and the Key Peninsula Farm Tour.
Des Moines was the hometown of my family, and my grandfather was homesteader in east of Des Moines, and his orchard was called Rising Sun, and that's why I enjoy the farming and farmers out here so much on the Key Peninsula. And I retired from teaching. I tell most kids and anybody that'll listen, it took me 25 years to get out of 5th grade, and I got to retire, and I was still blessed with good health and strength, and so getting to be here on the Key Peninsula was an honor, just to serve the place where I was living so well and happily.
Since retiring to the Key Peninsula, Dana has spent dozens of hours each and every week in support of her community. She belongs to at least 10 community organizations and supports a score more. Most recently, she has single-handedly organized, managed, and sometimes financially supported the new Key Peninsula Community Office.
This is the second year of the community office, and this office is one of the miracles of the Community Council.
This facility conducts outreach, which allows Transportation Challenge community members to interact with the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. It hosts the county councilman, mental health resources, and other opportunities for community members to reach the people they need.
We also are really proud to get the council, District 7, in the office. Councilman Derek Young is here, and what an opportunity that we can step right in off the streets and talk to your councilman. Along with the partners in the office, the Community Council is one of those partners. They have 8 committees, and the Farm Tour is one of the earliest committees to develop, and it came along in 2006.
Dana was actually instrumental in carrying that forward once it was no longer something that the county did. She said, oh, we have to keep this going, and we're going to promote and support all the farms and agricultural businesses on the Key Peninsula. And Dana works year-round on the event and making sure that we're in line with what the county is looking for. We have a farm tour because of Dana and all her hard work.
Key Peninsula, after the year 2000, was looking for ways to have the communities at large outside of the peninsula understand who we are. The farm tour was something we're very proud of. The farmers spend that week before the farm tour to getting their properties ready for the visitors. And you can just feel it. These people have rolled out the carpet for us to come and see, and the peninsula is gorgeous. It's always the first Saturday in October, and currently we've been able to link up with our School Bus Connects program, and that program's been able to provide buses where people can ride around on those buses and go see the farms. The first stop in the up north travel is at Bees Flowers, and that's always like just stepping off of the twirling planet into yesteryear, and they're going to see the goat show with nickel and dime doing silly tricks, and they're going to ride a hay wagon, and they're going to learn how to put dahlias together in bouquets, and happened to be walking around there this year, and a little girl was following one of the bee's grandchildren up to a cage and looked through, and she said, "Is that a real bunny?" And he had to assure her that that's what that indeed was. So there's all these educational moments that are going on.
On Bee's Farm, we have the apple crusher, and we're cranking things by hand, and the huckleberry machine sorting huckleberries to this element of farming today. To the bioreactor is actually one of only 3 in the North American continent, and it's right here in our oyster farm.
It looks like something right out of Star Wars. So they opened up their whole facility and teach people all the stages of oyster rearing. Every other year we have Kaukiki in the sheep farm, and we learn about yarn and processing yarn, and that theme is carried into the Fiber Arts Show, and it's just all aglow with all of these craftsmen that work with fiber, and which includes knitting and quilting and maybe learning how to work a spinning wheel, and it's a fabulous show, and it has over 30 artisans a year that come. We have watched the farm tour grow and grow, and it just gets better every year. To be able to be of service to the place where you live that's bringing you happiness and well-being is an honor, really, to life. And I kind of look at it as, at this stage, that I'm in the 4th quarter of my life, and that's when you make all the points, isn't it? Looking at the football, that you got to play the game your best, at your highest, and get over the goal line as many times as possible to win the game. So this is a great opportunity, and a lovely place. We all call it paradise, just casually, because we know it's true. So it's an honor to serve paradise in the kingdom of the Key Peninsula.
Whether we are promoting peace, fighting disease, providing clean water, helping mothers and children, supporting education, or engaging in projects to support the local economy, Rotary clubs here in Gig Harbor and across the globe share the ideal of service above self. We are honored and proud that tonight, through the Star Awards, we have once again had the opportunity to recognize members of our community, like Guy, Ann, and Dana, who share our commitment to service. On behalf of a grateful community, we thank you.